everyone, my name is Tom, also known as Random Jot, and I have this morning eaten the future fruit to give me the future sight that I need to predict the end of One Piece. Or maybe not quite specifically end, but just various things that are going to happen in the vaguely defined future. I've done this kind of thing before, predicting what's going to happen in the future of the MCU, in the future of the first Lore series, and I was 100% right in those videos. Don't go back and double check that, just take my word for it. I was not wrong about a single thing. Okay, so I've got a few ideas for things that I am pretty confident are going to happen in the future of the series. Now, these aren't going to be specifically to do with the current Elbaf arc. These are going to be more sort of in no specific time period, just like at some point I think these things are going to happen. And if you're wondering why I've got a sword with me today, well, why don't you, huh? Speaking of the sword though, here's one that I actually hadn't written down on my little list of things, but I've just thought of right now. Got an eyelash in my coffee on there. That's a wish. All these predictions are going to come true, and I'm going to be hailed as a genius for coming up with all of these. So the sword, right. So in the most recent chapter, in one of the recent chapters, we got this great bit of Usopp being drunk with the giants in Elbaf, and he jumps up and he punches the sword that is lodged through Chief Yarrow's head, right? And everyone's like, Usopp, don't do that, you're gonna kill him. But Usopp says something in that chapter. He says, is there no hero of Elbaf who can pull the sword from the head? I kind of think that is gonna be some heavy foreshadowing. I know there's a lot of people who speculate that if that sword is removed, or rather that sword is currently like blocking some memory of Chief Yarrow regarding what happened to Chief Harold and Loki and how Harold died. I do put stock behind the idea that removing that sword is going to reawaken those memories, and we're going to get a flashback to what exactly happened between the former king and Loki and how exactly all of that went down. Because, you know, it's been a bit suspicious, the things that we've learned about it so far. Definitely feels like there's more to the story. So someone is going to remove the sword from Chief Yarrow's head, and I do think there's a pretty good possibility that could be Usopp. Maybe not directly, but he's going to like cause a chain reaction to getting the sword dislodged, and then Usopp himself will become this kind of hero of Elbaf that he's drunkenly spouting off about, and that will be like a fulfillment of his dream to become the brave warrior of the sea. That's theory number one. Write it down. Mark it, mark my words, that's gonna happen. Moving on to theory number 2. This primarily concerns the Grand Fleet, the Straw Hat Grand Fleet, who formed at the end of Dressrosa. Great scene, great moment, we got Bartolomeo in there, we got Hyruddin, speaking of the giants, we've got a couple other guys, but we do get a little bit of ominous messaging from the narrator, right? He says, you know, this group is formed, but they will go on to be part of some kind of great disaster or some kind of great event. I can't remember the specific word that he uses, but he's like, the formation of this group is gonna have like a big consequence down the road. And I believe we've already seen the first pebbles in the avalanche of whatever that is. Whatever this big conflict is the Grand Fleet are gonna be a part of, I think the inciting incident that will lead to this big like clash is gonna have sprung from Bartolomeo tearing down Shanks' flag and putting Luffy's up and having that altercation with Shanks and the Red Hair Pirates. I think that is the first, like, the first step in whatever this is going to end up being, this big clash between the Straw Hat Grand Fleet and the Red Hair Pirates. Maybe some other emperors as well get cross-guild up in here, and you know, that's going to put Luffy and his crew in a tricky position, being affiliated both with the Grand Fleet and being, you know, on good terms with Shanks, relatively speaking. And there's going to be this big conflict surrounding that. You know, I don't really know exactly what shape that is going to take, but I do think that is the incident that the narrator was referring to when the Grand Fleet was formed. Maybe Kid could become part of this, and then the remnant of the Heart Pirates too, yeah, because Kid's got reason to be against Shanks. Oda has at some point stated, you know, there's gonna be some kind of final war that is gonna make Marineford look cute by comparison. So, you know, if we have got, you know, the Red Hair Pirates, and we've got the Grand Fleet, and we've got Cross Guild, and the remnants of the Heart and the Kid Pirates, those feel like, you know, good ingredients to cook up into that kind of recipe. So, yeah, whatever big event the Grand Fleet are going to cause, we've already seen it start, right? Bartolomeo has already started it. And the Grand Fleet and the Red Hair Pirates, they're gonna be the pillars of whatever that is. Alright, moving on. I've got a few returning villain theories that I want to talk about. First and foremost, I want to talk about Doflamingo, Fashion King of One Piece. Now there are several villains who feel like primed to have a return in some way, but I think Doflamingo is the one that I'm the most excited for. You know, since his defeat, we've continually been cutting back to him every now and then, like chained up on the boat, on the transport, and then impelled down, just cackling away like a maniac. You know, and I feel like, why would we be doing that if his role in the story was already done? No, there's got to be some bigger purpose or further purpose for him later down the line. Doffy still has a part to play. I've seen speculation that, you know, there's going to be an Impel Down 2, another breakout of Impel Down, and that's how he's going to get out. And I've seen speculation that he is going to go and join Cross Guild. However, I don't personally put too much stock in that theory. To me, Doffy doesn't seem like the kind of guy who's gonna be content working underneath others, especially under like Buggy. So I think if he gets out, I think there's a much higher chance that he's gonna be a kind of lone agent of chaos, or like an agent of revenge, beelining straight for Luffy to get back at him for what he did on Dressrosa. I just don't see him working with Cross Guild. He's very much a doesn't play well with others kind of character. Although it would be nice to see like a reunion of the original Warlords all in one group. So it could be, but I don't know. Speaking of the original Warlords though, Gecko Moria is another guy we gotta talk about. We gotta talk about Moria. And this isn't so much of a prediction, this has been set up, but Moria's part in the story he's still got a part to play. He is currently captured by Blackbeard on Hachinosu. Perona is also there, she's trying to find him. And I know a lot of people are wondering if Hachinosu is going to be like the next arc after Elbaf, so we could see more of him there. I also do think there's a much higher chance of Moria actually ending up on the same side as the Straw Heads. As the Straw Hats. Maybe not like a full redemption arc, but I think he's gonna end up like begrudgingly working alongside them to like take on Blackbeard, because they've both got reason to like hate Blackbeard. So I do think there's a chance there for a bit more Moria redemption, or like light redemption. You know, he did some pretty bad stuff. And just while we're on the Warlords angle, I also would really love to see the original Warlords going up against their Seraphim counterparts at some point. Don't know like what context that would be in, presumably in like the final war or on the way to there, but yeah, I think that would be really cool to see at some point. Okay, another returning villain who there is less overt textual evidence for, but I just really want to see again, is Eneru. I've always been a little bit fascinated by how Eneru like sits outside of the general structure of the world. You know, like warlords, emperors, admirals, bounties, these things mean nothing to him. He is a god and that is that. But you know, I think it'd be really interesting to see him interact with some of the villains or just some of the characters that we've already seen down on the on Blue Planet, which we now know is the name of the planet. Pretty sure is also a David Attenborough documentary series, but we don't need to worry about that. But the point is, it would be cool to see NL actually get down to the Blue Sea and interact with people that we know who live there and see his reactions to them. I would especially love to see his reaction to Luffy and the Straw Hats and like how much they've leveled up since they last met each other. Like him seeing that Luffy is being revered as Sun God Nika, and especially him seeing that Usopp is known as God Usopp. I think that would be such a funny like interaction for Eneru to have if he came back into the story. I've also seen a lot of speculation that Eneru is going to be quite highly tied into Arouge's backstory, which could be fuel for him being brought back into the story main when Arouge gets finally like brought in as well, being the final supernova to really have a significant role. And I'm fully on board behind that thinking. I really think that has a high chance of coming true. So yeah, Eneru gonna return to the story at some point. I can see a future where he doesn't, but I really hope he does. Yeah, in addition, his cover story feels super significant, right? There's a lot in Eneru's cover story that is like, has some big lore implications, and it would feel weird if that just kind of got left hanging. So that also does add credence to the theory that Eneru was going to return at some point. Those are my main returning villains theories: Doflamingo, Gecko Moria, and Eneru. I think they're all going to come back. Alright, now let's go back to Blackbeard for a moment. I want to talk about Blackbeard. Since I caught up with One Piece, I've been watching a lot of like videos like the one I'm doing now, like theories and predictions and that kind of thing. And I've seen a lot of thoughts and theories about this man, but there is a thought that I've had that I don't think I've seen anywhere else. What I have seen is a lot of talk that Blackbeard is inexplicably linked to the number 3, right? He's got 3 pistols, he's got 3 skulls on his Jolly Roger. This is a big thing for Blackbeard, this is 3. And a conclusion that a lot of people seem to be drawing is that this is a hint that Blackbeard is actually 3 people. He has a sort of split personality, and that's what this, like, theme of the number 3 is all about. It's a hint towards that, and that's why, like, he has some inconsistent characterization. Some moments he seems like really brave, in other moments he seems really cowardly. Seen a lot of talk going down that avenue, but I think there is another avenue that we need to explore. For me personally, I don't put as much stock into the split personality idea. I don't know how much I buy that. Don't want to discount it entirely, but that's just not the main thing that I think of when it comes to Blackbeard and the number 3. I think we can walk down a path that is going to open up a big old can of worms vis-a-vis this number 3 business. And I'm going to sum this up in rather fittingly 3 words. Third devil fruit. That's right, I think that at some point in the vaguely defined future of One Piece, Blackbeard is going to obtain a 3rd devil fruit to go with the 2 that he's already got. He is the only character in the series, in the history of the world, who has been able to wield 2 devil fruits at the same time. Shouldn't be possible, but he is able to do it. For how? We still don't exactly know. All of that happened underneath a lovely white sheet. But I've always suspected that this ability to hold more than 1 devil fruit is like a side application of the dark fruit. So having the dark fruit is what allows him to take on 2 fruits at once, and that is why he coveted that fruit so specifically. It also seems that Blackbeard is, or someone on his crew at the very least, is able to kill someone and then transfer their power directly to someone else. Like we saw, they killed Absalom and gave his power to Shiryu. I mean, unless they killed Absalom and just were amazingly lucky enough that the clear fruit just respawned on a tree right next to them, it seems more likely that they have some ability to, like, take away and transfer devil powers between users rather than just killing them and then going out and finding wherever that fruit has ended up. My money is on the former, so that's how they've been doing it. That's how they've been getting all these different crazy devil fruit powers to all the members of the Blackbeard pirates. So, okay, Blackbeard's fruit has some kind of sub-ability that allows him to manipulate other people's devil fruit abilities in that way. So I think it is entirely possible that there is another devil fruit out there somewhere that Blackbeard wants for himself, a 3rd one to go with his collection. I gotta say, the idea of Blackbeard with 3 devil fruit abilities is very terrifying and would make for a fitting, imposing threat for one of the final antagonists that we're probably going to have to face. Now, there is one issue with this theory, and that is just an issue of pure design, right? When we usually see Blackbeard, he's wielding darkness with one hand and earthquakes with the other, and so, the natural question is, if he has a 3rd one, where does it go? Maybe he could take a trick out of Zoro's book and, use his head in some way. Maybe he'll get the beam fruit and he can fire a beam out of his eyes or like out of his mouth or out of both. Back in Dressrosa, Burgess was trying to get the flare fruit. So maybe at that point Blackbeard had this idea of, he's gonna get that fruit for himself and he's gonna breathe fire like a big scary dragon. Issue with that though, that feels way too similar to like Kaido's blast breath that we've seen already, and I don't know how you would make it more imposing than Kaido's blast breath, which was able to, level a goddamn mountain, so maybe not. And Blackbeard seems like the kind of guy who wants to have banter and mouth off during fights. If he's firing a big old beam out of his mouth, then that's going to get in the way of his ability to do that. So there is another option, which the more I think about, the more I prefer to the beam fruit idea. I don't think we've seen any kind of beam fruit, but maybe there could be one out there. So the dark fruit, that is a Logia type. Whitebeard's Quake fruit, that is Paramecia. So why not complete the trifecta with a Zoan? Then we would have Blackbeard transforming just his entire body into some kind of beast or creature, and he would still, have the classic pose of, darkness and quake, and, then he wouldn't have to end up looking like Goofy with, a 3rd hand coming out of his head wielding a 3rd power. But to be honest, I do kind of want to see that. That does conjure up a funny image. But if it's a Zoan, then, you don't have that design issue. You can still look imposing, and you can still have that kind of, you know, imposing visage. In addition, if Blackbeard got himself a mythical Zoan fruit, you know, that would make him a proper parallel to Luffy. With Luffy's mythical Zoan Sun God fruit, maybe Blackbeard could get a hold of some kind of mythical Zoan demon fruit, you know, really amp up like the mirror that is Luffy and Blackbeard. How Blackbeard can be like Luffy's dark reflection. And I do believe it's confirmed that mythical Zoans are not only the rarest, but also the strongest kind of devil fruit out there. So that really does seem like something that Blackbeard would enjoy having if he had. You know, he's got his Logia Darkness, he's got his Paramecia Earthquake, and then he's got a mythical Zoan transformation to just make him like, this is the ultimate bad guy, the ultimate threat. Luffy and company get to the point where like, oh, we're strong enough, you know, we've got Gear 5, we've got, you know, whatever Zoro does when he gets 9 swords, we've got all our different abilities, we're finally ready to face Blackbeard and his 2 Devil Fruit abilities. And then they get there and Blackbeard's like, guess what? I did it again, I've got 3 now. So there you go, that is my big prediction. Blackbeard is gonna get himself that 3rd Devil Fruit before our final fight with him. That is my big swing. Could end up being a big miss, but you know, we're just gonna have to wait and see. But I really like this idea, and I'm genuinely surprised that I haven't seen like more One Piece channels bring it up. Just a couple of the small ones that I really like. I do think that Vivi is going to end up reuniting with the Straw Hats and becoming like an official member of the Straw Hat crew. That would like, you know, complete when Luffy was setting out, he was like, I'm gonna get 10 crew members. And I had been for a while assuming that we already had the full set, but I was counting Luffy as one of the 10. But you could take it as Luffy was saying himself and 10 good members. So Vivi could be the 10th, and then, you know, finally pay off that. Another one that I really like, and this isn't unique to me, I've seen a few people throw this idea. I do like the idea that, you know, when we finally get to Laugh Tale, Buggy is also going to be there, and you know, through his usual falling upwards strategy, through some kind of loophole or technicality, Buggy will end up being the Pirate King before Luffy does. I can really see that happening, and I think that would make just for a really great, like, funny scene. You know, they're both like trying to get to the One Piece, Luffy rounds the corner and sees Buggy become the Pirate King, and he's like, what? I think that could be really fun. I think that could happen. So there you go, those are all my big predictions for the vague future of One Piece. Here they all are, like in a handy visual, so that we can one day look back on this video and see just how wrong I actually was. Let me know in the comments what you think of all these theories. Do you agree? Do you think that these are also going to happen? Or do you have any theories of your own that I haven't mentioned? Any things that you're like really sure are going to happen and you're excited to see? Whatever it is, let me know in the comments section below. Do remember to like and subscribe if you have not already. Thank you all so much for watching this video, and I will see you in the future. Huh. God, that is uncomfortable. That's very uncomfortable.